it's sagging.
Yeah, sorry. I always set it up saggy.
Oh, wait. I went the wrong way. Oh, well. All right. Well, I'm facing the wrong direction. Here we go. Hey! All right. Oops. Just knocked it silly.
Now you broke it.
Am I good on these cameras? We're all good?
I'll fix it, but yeah, we're good. We're going.
All right. As long as I don't break anything.
No, you're fine.
All right. Well, can you run to the copy machine and get the script?
Dude, it's out of ink.
So
I don't know. We can ask.
should we come back later?
Well, let's ask Emilio to run to the store to go get ink.
Emilio's not here.
Oh.
So this is
not
not going so good.
I'm pretty embarrassed.
Kind of getting a little awkward. We don't have much to talk about.
Shit. Okay.
Anywho, welcome to Mark Bell's Power Project. We're just messing around. We're just being stupid,
Hey.
as always. This is Mark Smelly Bell talking to you, and we're live. We go live on YouTube. We go live on Instagram. We're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube. We're live everywhere. And we're live on Facebook. And we're on... This is recorded, and it stays on YouTube. It also is on Google Play. It's also on iTunes.
Stitcher.
And if you like what we share today, please let people know. Leave us a review. Tell other people about it. That kind of stuff. This is Mark Bell's Power Project. We've been doing this for quite some time. The show used to have a different name, but we moved in a slightly different direction. And I'm really excited, actually, about 2019, about what we're going to do in 2019. I'm excited to continue to do these podcasts with Andrew. It's been a lot of fun. But for today, we're going to talk about... I got a bunch of things to talk about here. I guess I can't really label it down into one thing. I can't really give the show a title just yet. But had a good day of lifting today. Had a good day of meetings today, and today was a very positive and fun day. We talked about Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and how things exploded and things went really well for us. And we also talked about some things that we can do better in the future, because that's what this life is all about, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys today, is that you want to learn from your personal experience, and I'm going to teach you how to learn from your personal experience. Before we get on to that, I got to blab about myself for a little bit. I have squatted 1,080. I have bench pressed 854 pounds. I had deadlifted 766 pounds. My best combined total in one particular meet is a 2630 total. I've been powerlifting since the time I was 12. I'm about to be 42, December 10th. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. You guys didn't know I could sing. You know I can rap. You heard Meathead Millionaire. Anyway, yeah, celebrating 30 years of the Iron Game. Celebrating 30 years of lifting. And I feel stronger. I feel better. I feel in better shape. I feel more confident in myself. I feel more competent. I feel better in almost every aspect of my life nowadays, but I'm obviously not physically stronger. I can't, I could. I don't like that word can't. At the moment, I would not be able to perform a 578-pound bench press, but that's the best I've ever done raw. I don't have the same strength level that I once had, but I have much better conditioning. I have much better cardio. I'm much happier with the way that I'm built today. And a lot of these things, a lot of what's happened with me and to me over the years has been a long work in progress. This has been a long, long road for me to want to get in front of a bunch of people and talk. That's taken a long time. That's something I would be very apprehensive to do years ago. Over a long period of time, I gained a lot of confidence with lifting. I gained a lot of confidence in myself, and it led to me making an invention called the Slingshot. Slingshot, supportive upper body device for bench press, push-ups, and dips. And all that ended up turning into a business. I turned a great idea into a business. And it all starts with a great idea. You can't just have a half-ass idea. It's got to start with a good idea. It's got to start with a great idea, and the Slingshot was a great idea. And I surrounded it with other products to turn it into a business. Let's see. I'm also the people's coach. I've been coaching people in powerlifting for a very long time. Here at Super Training Gym, we've had many athletes here set world records. We've had many athletes set personal records over and over and over again. People come here from all over the world. Here in West Sacramento, California is where this is recorded from, and that's where Slingshot headquarters is, and that's where Super Training Gym is. It's all under one roof. It's all in one house, and I feel really good about what we have built here, and we have built a really good community, not only of lifters, both men and women, but also we've also created a great community of workers here for Slingshot, and I'm really proud of that. It's probably one of the things I'm most proud of that I've ever been a part of in my life. And so that's just something that's cool, and it's fun, and it gets me excited. It gets me out of bed every single day to want to come here and to share my experiences with the people that I work with every day. Andrew Zaragoza is the man behind the mic over there. Say what's up.
What's up, everybody? Dude. Oh, shit. There we go. Sorry. I had to fix my camera.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. But I just realized that I won't be able to check the audio on the Instagram feed. So if you guys are in there, please just comment and let us know if the audio is coming in clear or not.
I think they can hear us.
Okay, cool.
They're giving us the thumbs up.
Okay, good.
You want me to wave? Hey.
Hey, there you go. Quick rundown on me. I won't give the whole backstory. I'll just say that I'm 33 years old, recently engaged to my fiance, Stephanie.
Hey now.
Hey. We have a daughter, 10 years old, Jasmine. She's the best thing on the planet. She's awesome, and she's
pretty awesome. What's up, Jazz?
Yeah, she was asking about Quinny. She asked about Quinn. Yeah, they're almost the same age. Man. And so we have to tell her that, like, oh no, she's at camp right now.
I know, it's so sad. Quinn's away for a whole week.
I can't.
I'm dying over here. I'm dying. Totally dying. I see her tomorrow. I'm pumped for that. But man, it's been rough.
Yeah, I know. I asked Andy. I'm like, so how's it going? And she's like, I was talking to somebody and like I just felt like something was off, and I just like, oh, Quinn's not here. That's right.
It's so sad.
She was beat up. Yeah. Okay. Long story short, fell in love with photography. Met Mark at a seminar. Shook his hand. Asked him if he needed photos, or if powerlifters needed photos. He said no. He said, I need photos. And it was just right place at the right time. And I was, prepared and ready for that moment, and became a full-time photographer for Super Training, and then saw another opportunity open up to work on this podcast, because it was funny, when I first got hired on, I told Stephanie, like, I don't know what it is yet, but at some point I'm going to be doing something with the podcast.
Right.
And one thing led to another, and here I am. And, shit worked out really well.
Whammo.
Yeah, it's I've had a really long couple days, and Mark texts me, I text Mark to see if he was coming back to podcast, and he said yes, and I'm like, cool. So give me some coffee and get me fired up, and let's do this shit, because I love doing it.
And here we are. And we yesterday we had a really successful podcast that we did with David Goggins, and that was really exciting. And if you're probably trying to already look for it online the second I mentioned it, but you're going to have to wait till December
12th.
December 12th is when we're going to actually release that. So we got to wait a little bit, and it's just because David has a book coming out. And he wanted us to kind of release it around the time the book comes out and things like that. But that was a lot of fun. It was great to learn more about him, and it was fun to dive into some different questions with him and learn more about him. Anyway, what we're going to talk about here today, and I actually earlier said I'm not sure what the name of this podcast would be, but I'll give it a name right now, and I'll just call it Never Do Nothing. Because that's what I'm going to talk about today, is never do nothing. If you're standing still, then you're just not moving forward, right? And so we want to try to figure out how do we move forward. And if we are standing still, let's make that be purposeful. Like, why are we standing still? What are we waiting for? Why did we stop our motion? Like, what is the reason for it? Do we have a reason for it? Because if you have a reason for it, then it's totally fine. Are you sitting down and just relaxing and enjoying some time with your family? Are you sitting down and checking some emails and scrolling through Instagram for a little bit? Totally fine. It's totally reasonable. But what I try to share on Mark Bell's Power Project, what I try to share with you guys every single day is how to keep you on your path, how to keep you. We all have goals. We all have hopes. We all have dreams. Let's not have those dreams turn into nightmares by not ever making them happen, right? Let's figure out a way to get momentum. Let's figure out a way to keep that momentum. Let's figure out a way to put one foot in front of the other. Let's figure out a way to live a purposeful life, to live the fullest life that we can live, to live up to our potential. It's not always about money. It's not always about success and what it means to this guy and this girl. It's about what success means for you. It's about you finding out what gives you purpose, what makes you feel good. What makes you feel good? Just plain and simple. Does something make you feel good, or does it make you feel worse? The way that we did Black Friday last year made me feel better than the way that we did it this year. We made a lot more money this year, but that ain't what it was about. So I had a conversation with my wife, and we were both kind of pissed. And it was our own fault. You know, we set these things up, and it wasn't any fault of anybody else here. Everybody executed, and everybody did really well, and everybody met deadlines and all kinds of stuff. But we looked back at it and we're like, that kind of sucked. Like, we're more creative. We could have more fun than that. Like, we did the Marky Moo thing and we did these other things. And so we looked back at it and we're like, you know what? That kind of sucked. And that's the kind of self-analysis that you have to do in your daily life. Is just because you get a victory doesn't mean it's permanent. And just because you get a victory doesn't mean that you can rest on it forever. This is about putting up points on the scoreboard. And where I'm at in my life, coming up on being 42 years old, I'm coming up. This is like the third quarter, right? I got the first half done. Mm-hmm. Most people live to like be 80 something, right? I don't know. I might live to 100, but whatever. Maybe we'll go in some overtime, right? Maybe we'll play some OT. Mm-hmm. But I'm going into the third quarter, and it's the points that I put up in the first half, they matter, they count. But they're not everything. This game is not over. I got to continue to put points up on the scoreboard. I cannot be caught standing still, or I'm going to lose this battle. And I want to win. I want to try to win every day. And the way that you win every day is to try to get isolated victories, which I've talked about in previous podcasts. Get these isolated victories, get momentum, and start moving forward. Now, what I like to give you is I like to give you actionable items. I like to give you things that you can actually do. Actionable items, things that you can actually take and apply to your life today or tomorrow. You could write it down. Hopefully you have your personal development notebook handy with you, and you can write these things down. Get a pen and kind of get ready. And you can the glory of this podcast, with it being recorded, it's recorded, so you can go back and rewind it, and you can listen to it. You can watch it on YouTube. But if you don't write these things down, then it's kind of in one ear, out the other. Something that I want to teach you guys, and this is like, when I'm sharing some of these principles with you guys, I want you to really, these are kind of like laws. They're kind of like unwritten laws. These are things that you don't really have to do anything. You don't need to feel like you have to do anything, but you need to listen. And you need to pay attention, because these things are important. I wouldn't share them with you if they weren't important. Now, I want you to kind of first of all, before I move forward, I had a thought going there, and I don't want to lose it. So, never trust your own memory. Write shit down. Do not trust your own memory. Your own memory is like an enemy of yours, because you'll go, "Oh my God, man, man, Andrew, damn it." Damn it, I had a great idea, and it just, I don't know what happened. No, nobody knows where it went.
You have these ideas, or you have this thought, and you're like, oh my God, that is life-changing. I'm never going to forget it. No, I don't need to write it down. I'm just going to go straight to Mark and tell him, dude, we need to do this for the podcast.
It's too good. I'm not going to forget it.
There's no way I'm going to forget it. And I see you, and I'm like, I had something to tell you, and I'll let you know when I remember it. It fucking sucks.
It's horrible when that happens.
Write it down.
Here's another problem with that too. Write it down, and write down the emotion attached to it. Ooh. Because if you don't do that, when Andrew comes and tells me, he's not going to tell me with the same conviction that he had before. He might say, "Hey man, I know like we're coming up on 10 years of bigger, stronger, faster being out, or I have this idea for this episode. I know your brother passed like around 10 years ago. We should talk about that." Well, it's so much better if he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I had this idea. It's kind of like because your brother passed, and like maybe you talk about that." If it's like that, then it's like just not as good, right?
Mhm.
But if he comes up and he talks about the emotion attached to it and says, "Hey, I know your brother Chris is coming up. Maybe both you guys get on the podcast," and then you can kind of deliver that message more fired up, because in order to make some of these ideas really happen, you got to get some other people to buy into them. Normally, your significant other, your boss, whatever, right? You got to get someone else to buy in. That's just the way life goes. But write your shit down and attach an emotion to it, even if it's just a smiley face, even if it's just like, "Hey, I thought that was a good idea and it made me happy." Just put a little smiley face on it. Or even you can go ahead and like rate it if you're not sure whether what emotion's attached to it. Give it a scale of 1 to 10 on where you think the idea is. Sometimes you might be like, "Oh, that idea is gold. That's a 10." Maybe you have an idea for like an app or something. You're like, "This is going to be so good." And then you Google it, and 20 versions of it already exist, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm stupid." Okay, it's called Uber. Whoops. Just because you've been living under a rock and you didn't know something better already exists, right? That can happen. But write your stuff down. As I'm saying with this podcast, part of the reason for having these cameras in here and videoing this and recording this is A, so that multiple people can listen to it, but also B, so that you can go back and listen to it and learn and keep and hold on to some of these things. But you got to record some of it too, because you don't want to have to go back and go through hundreds of episodes of this. So you should write down the date. You should write down the emotion that you have when you have a good idea. You could be listening to this and your brain could totally drift off, because you could be on a 10-minute walk and you could step in dog shit and you could be like, "Something needs to be done about these sidewalks with this dog shit over here." And you can create some sort of cool, crazy idea to pick up dog shit better, or who knows what it is. Or maybe you're not even thinking about anything related to your walk. You're not thinking about anything related to me even speaking. Has your mind ever drifted like completely from anything that's going on? You're listening to a song on the radio, and your thought has nothing to do with the song on the radio. The song's not reminding you of anyone or anything that's happened. Your brain just goes off in this weird direction. Who knows why? Maybe a word in the song made your mind drift to a certain direction, and you're off and running that way. But you're not gonna remember all these different feelings. You're not gonna remember all these different things that this causes, right? And so it's important that you kind of record these things and write some of these things down. You need to write down everything, but write down what episode it was. Write down the date. These are things that I do. I study. I'm studying. I'm trying to make myself smarter. God damn it, so I can make bigger moves. So I can make moves with more conviction. As I get older, as more things come my way, I'm going to be armed with. I'm going to have a stronger thing to speak from every single time that every situation comes up.
How do you go back and reference the stuff that you wrote down, like something, whether it be a quote or an idea that you want to do on the podcast or on the YouTube channel, whatever it is? Like, how do you know when to look at the blank page and then turn the page the other way to look back at what you were writing?
Yeah, so I understand what you're asking. So the first key though is just to get stuff down. Like, make no mistake about it. You got to get stuff down. So whether you have to record it in a voice note to your phone, or write it in your phone in your notes, or write it on a notebook. Now, I suggest that you have a pen and you have a notebook that you always have with you. So you can always keep stuff in that notebook, so you can always refer to the same thing, because being organized is going to be a big part of this. The better organized you are, the easier it's going to be to find some of these things. How do you know when to go back and to look is when that's when we have to kind of like analyze like what's going on, like what's the situation. So just for example, I mentioned Black Friday. So if I go into my notes from Black Friday, I can look at this year, I can look at last year, but when do I know to go back and look at Black Friday? Well, when Black Friday starts to roll around again, I can go back and look. Or 3-4 months out from Black Friday, I can start to look at my notes and say, okay, I wasn't in love with what we did last year. Let's try a few different things this year. A, B, and C. I think these things align with what I want to do. Align is a really key word, really crucial word. It's hard. Andrew sent me a quote yesterday, I think it was, and it's very difficult to turn your thoughts into actions. However, if you can't stop thinking about them, a lot of times they do turn into your actions. So you got to kind of be careful about what it is you're thinking about, what it is you're occupying your brain with in the first place. If you're occupying your brain with like negative thoughts, if you're occupying your brain with things that don't align with where you're trying to go, again, there's that word again. It's got to line up, right? It's got to align with what you're doing. Because if it doesn't, how are you going to ever get to where you're going if you keep getting sidetracked and you keep getting thrown off course? When you're listening to this podcast, there might be some things that you might want to do. You might want to like shut down your text notifications. You might want to limit some of that stuff so that you can actually listen and learn to what I'm trying to teach and what I'm trying to preach, because I've been around for a while. If you were to think, like if we were to rewind, let's say we rewound 20 years, okay? I'm now 21 going on 22. And someone came up in front of a room, and there's a room of, let's just say we're all in a gym, right? And somebody rang a bell and stopped everybody in the gym, and everybody turned around and kind of looked, and this guy was up on like a flight of stairs or something like that, and he said, "Hey, everybody, listen, we have a speaker here today. We have a guest speaker for today. He's going to talk for half an hour to all the members of this gym, and he's a loser. He doesn't have a license. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have any money. Doesn't have a pot to piss in. He's got some like biceps, and that's about it. He's got some hopes and dreams of becoming someone or something in the fitness industry someday, and he thinks he's going to be a professional wrestler. And so we're going to have Mark over here. He's going to talk to you for half an hour." Well, no one would want to listen, right? However, learning from a loser is the greatest place to learn from. And that's where I learned from. I learned from my previous self. Learning from mistakes, learning from losses, learning from eating shit, learning from just not having a good job, having shitty jobs to try to make ends meet, trying to figure it out, just trying to figure out life, figure myself out, figure out where I fit in, what's my role, what's my purpose, what do I do? How do I be significant? How do I be substantial? Never mind how I could be significant to anybody else. How do I even just be significant to my damn self? How do I, feel good about myself? Luckily for me, I was good enough at lifting to where that always made me feel pretty damn good about myself. I was always good enough at it. It might be similar for somebody else who's good at art or who's good at music. They can just play and they can jam good enough to where just that alone makes them feel good. I could get enough satisfaction off of the lifting and feeling, good about myself. I liked like video games and stuff like that too as a kid. But I was aware that like there's some jobs in like the video game world, but I'm not a tech guy, so I never thought like I would be able to do anything with anything like that. As funny as that is to like think of, but like that, my mind was like thinking of anything and everything because I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. And so learning from, we go to these seminars, we go to these classes and these different things, and it's always somebody who's really famous. It's always somebody who's really wealthy. It's always somebody who's really advanced in society. But imagine if someone got up there and they told you the story of how they lost it all and how they're 55 years old and they have nothing. Like that would be an amazing story to learn from. And you would be like enamored. You'd be like, oh my God, this is great. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Okay, cool. I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm not going to do that. It's almost easier to just hear the guy talk about like drugs and alcohol and not being loyal and not treating people well, and you're like, okay, those are all reasonable things. I can avoid drinking. I can avoid snorting cocaine. I can avoid treating people like shit. But I'm not really sure how to like make $1 million. I'm not really sure how to, I don't even know where to begin in terms of having a really great work ethic, right? Like somebody might be intimidated by some of those things. Oh man, I got to show up to work on time all the time, and I got to kick ass 7 days a week, and I'm responsible for all these other. If I make money and some of my hopes and dreams work, then I'm now on the hook to make all those things happen, right? And so that can be really just overwhelming. But to kind of hear someone else's story from another perspective, and hear about how they lost everything and how they never actually became anything, you could sit there and pick that apart all day and be like, this is great. I'm just going to avoid doing anything that this guy ever did. He's an idiot.
He didn't have a lot of fun, or I'm not going to have a lot of fun if I do everything or don't do everything that guy did.
Right.
But one of the things that I learned, like it's a much smaller scale, but I would look at my bad photos, and I would kind of just dissect them and be like, why
That's 100% what I'm talking about. Yeah.
be like, why didn't this image work? And then I'd figure it out. I'd work backwards. So that way I can, look at it and be like, this doesn't work because of this. So now in this next image, I'm going to fix it. And just by doing that alone, like by looking at my bad images, it got me better at my best images.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that's a case of you, like, that wasn't your job. It was a side job. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a side job. There's an example of Andrew working harder on himself than he was on his job, which that's a really important thing to do. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what job you have, and it doesn't matter, like, you don't want to be at your job and you want to get in trouble for like working on side stuff, right?
Right.
However, you have to find appropriate time, and find a reasonable amount of time to work on yourself and to make yourself better. And in this case, if somebody's got like a 9 to 5, we had a question from a fan who said, he's like in his mid-30s and he already has a job and so on, right? When you're stuck and you have kind of a 9 to 5 and you have some family and you have some other obligations already going, and you have to have that job. There's no dream to be Mark Bell. There's no dream to be an entrepreneur, or be in fitness, or be a personal trainer. There's no silver lining in any of that, because you can't make that jump, because you can't stop your job and all of a sudden play personal trainer out of nowhere, right? Like, it's just not. How's it going to make sense? All right, you make maybe $50 an hour, and then you got to try to figure out, how do I train X amount of people? And it's too hard. It's like starting over, and you maybe already have a decent salary. So how do you get out of the job that you hate? The way that you're going to do that is through personal development, through making yourself smarter, educating yourself, working harder on yourself than you are on your job. And the way that I would suggest doing that is to try to take time out of each day wherever you can. And if you feel like you absolutely cannot take time out of each day, then take time out of your weekend or whenever you don't have work and work on those things. And you have to make those decisions. So let's say you're driving home from work today. Let's say you're on your way home right now listening to this podcast. Instead of going home, freaking pull off, buy a notebook, buy a pen, and go to Starbucks and sit your ass down and start working on some. Oh, we reached some sort of time limit on Instagram. Oh, well. That's okay. I won't mess with that again. But anyway, just freaking go to work on it right then and there. Start working on your personal development right then and there. And start to write down some of the things that you want to do. What is it you want to do instead of your job? That's what you're going to have to find out first. Like, what are you good at? Is there something that you're kind of gifted at? Is there something that you do really well? Like, is there something that you want to start to jump into? These are things that you're going to have to plan out, and they can't be you can't just have a dream to like just like do whatever. It's got to be very specific. It's got to be something that is reasonable, something that you can actually do. You don't want it to be this lofty dream or goal that's like, kind of unobtainable, because let's face it, you're never going to do it. You never did it before. Why would you do it now, right? Like, what's going to make you all of a sudden do something that you never did before? I don't know what this phone's asking me for. It says timed out. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's because you're using my phone. So you're locked out. I can open it up for you real quick though.
Oh, all right. I got locked out.
Yeah, it's it's because that I set the screen time limit on there. I forgot to take it off.
Oh no.
I'll fix it. Don't worry.
Anyway, so as I was saying, with this, as you're trying to learn, as you're trying to develop, and in the case of some of these people that are scared to, jump into a new job or take on something new, even if you're just starting a new job, period, like you're going to need to learn that job quick. And what I have done is I turned my car into a mobile classroom, because we now have Bluetooth and we can play different things through our stereo, and we can listen to things on the go. And, we can listen to things on the go, and we can, there we go, adjust that. You can listen to things anywhere. So I can listen to this podcast or Joe Rogan's podcast in my car. And that's where I do a lot of my learning. I try to learn as I'm driving. Sometimes I'll just listen to music. I'll be like, I just want to not really think about much of anything. I just want to like listen to some music. So I'll turn on some music. Other times I'm like, I feel like learning, and I feel like listening to something, and I feel like, getting fired up and getting revved up about a certain subject. And so I'll YouTube it or Google it or whatever, and I'll listen to it as I start driving. Now, if I think of something while I'm driving, then it gets to be a little bit hard, because I got to figure out a way to get that message down. But sometimes I'll just yell to my phone, say, "Hey Siri, make a note about this."
Oh wow!
There you go.
Yeah,
it just went up.
My phone won't do that though. I don't know how to get it to listen to me, but yeah, on the way to work, well, I call it's work just because I get work done here, but it's not work like everyone, we're used to. But morning time, that's when I listen to audiobooks, and I don't hope for traffic or anything, but when I catch traffic, I'm just like, oh, this is cool. I get to listen to a lot more today.
Right.
And then on the way home, like especially like today, like I got a lot of work done today, so I'm not going to be there cognitively or whatever. I'm not going to be able to handle an audiobook right now on the way home. Right. So I can listen to a podcast on the way home. Right. So even though like a podcast is very informative, I can keep up with it, whereas a book, like I'll find myself rewinding it, like, what did he say? And then he'll say it, and I'm like, fuck, I got to rewind it again. Right. It's almost like I'm actually reading a book where I have to keep reading the page over and over. That's just because my brain is kind of spent at that point. But podcasts, yeah, I can handle it for whatever reason. So use the quote dead time as like a live time, basically. Every opportunity you have to gain more knowledge, like you might as well, right? Like, why are you gonna just listen to like some shitty rap music or something?
No, you have you're right. You have opportunity to learn more stuff, and there's just so much information out there. So whatever it is that you want to learn, and even if you accepted a new job, and even if you're not trying to like get out of that job, you can continue to work on things that you think will provide more value towards that job. It could just be like you reading a self-help book. It could be anything. I mean, there's so many different options when it comes to those things. It's hard to just pin down and tell you guys exactly. But I sent my brother a picture today, and I sent him a picture of my notebook. And my notebook, on the front of it says Mark Bell, and it says Meathead Billionaire. And I sent him a picture of my composition notebook. I just got an old school composition notebook. That's where I write down all my stuff. That's where I do my kind of personal development. And I sent him a message. I said, "Where's your personal development notebook?" And he said, "I'm going to get one right now." He said, "I don't have one, but I'm going to go get one in 5 minutes." And then I gave him some homework to do. And I told him, I said, why don't you kind of work on some of these things, because you can't just think you're going to go in a certain direction. You have to know it. And the only way to really know it is to make sure things are aligned with it. Your actions. So your thoughts end up becoming your actions. Get a hold of some of this, right? The things that you think end up becoming your actions, or at least they will over a period of time. If you want to, start to have a discipline to be in better shape, then you'll start thinking about exercising. If you want to be leaner, then you'll start thinking about making better choices with your food. If you want to be stronger, then your thoughts are going to lean towards doing, powerlifting type stuff, right? Or gaining weight, or gaining more size. And then your thoughts are going to turn into your actions. You're going to work on getting bigger, and then eventually you will get bigger. You have to understand that the things that you ask for, you will receive them. But you have to ask for them, and it has to be specific. And it can't be some like outlandish, crazy goal. It can't just be when you're a kid, it's different. I mean, you can kind of have all kinds of crazy hopes and dreams. But when you get older, it has to be something that you can obtain. You want to start out with something smaller first. As you work your way towards something, then you could start to have larger dreams. I want to make 6 figures. Okay, well, shit, man, that's a big goal. Okay. Well, if you make 0 at the moment, then that's going to be really tough. That's more like a dream. Remember, we've talked about this before. Your goals, your dreams are just really, really large goals is what they are. That's your dreams. And really your goals, though, should be kind of small. They should be things that are close. They're things that are obtainable for you. Things that that you can get a hold of. But how are you ever going to even have a dream or have a goal if you don't know where you're going? If you don't know where you've been, you don't have recorded history of it, you're not writing stuff down, you're not keeping track. Well, how do we know how to avoid some of the mistakes you made in the past? What if you sat down with yourself and you had a real honest evaluation of yourself, and you said, you know what? I'm not happy with the amount of money that I make. I'm not happy with where I am with my life. I'm not happy with my relationship. Whatever it is that you're maybe not happy about. I'm sure plenty of people that listen to this podcast are plenty happy, right? But there's probably some things that you're not excited about. There's probably some things that you're not happy about. What are you lacking that is holding you back from enjoying things better? Or what is holding you back from having a better experience with those things? Is it a lack of knowledge? Do you need to go to some classes? Do you need to go to college? Do you need to go to school? Do you need to take a course? Do you need to learn a trade? Do you need to see a counselor of some sort? Like, do you have maybe you have a mental thing you just never dealt with, and you're like, you know what, man? Like, I don't know what's going on with that, but that's not good. I need to evaluate that. I need to look into that more. That doesn't make me feel good when I think about that. I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, when I was kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere with my photography, I did hire somebody to help coach me on the back end stuff of things, such as like the business side of photography. Like I kind of had an idea how to take good pictures that eventually I would get there, but as far as like promoting myself and like putting myself out there, I was so clueless, and so I ended up hiring basically he's a coach, yeah, but we ended up becoming friends, and now I can just hit this guy up whenever I need for anything else I need. And but you're right, yeah, like I've seen that I was lacking in one department, like the back end side of things, and I was like, okay, I'm unhappy with how I handle this stuff. I need help. And so I went and I found the best guy that, in my opinion, that I could find, somebody who makes $10,000 a wedding just to shoot for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's the guy I want to learn from.
Yeah, he obviously figured something out.
Yeah, and it was funny enough. What did I do? I didn't hope and dream that I get a chance to talk to him, but I contacted him through email, and he responded, and that's how that works.
And if you don't have money to do something like that, or you're not in a situation to do something like that, say, look, man, I'll can I work for you? Can I help you? Can I do something?
Right.
If you can't afford it, they might say no, or say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? And I'm just really trying to get a start. It's going to be really rare for someone to turn you down.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I was so open and willing and paying to pay for his knowledge or whatever. And he ended up just like giving me free stuff all the time. Like I never had to really actually pay. It was just by me reaching out saying like, hey, like I'm down to like for for me to pick your brain, I'm willing to pay. And then what ended up happening is he didn't even care about getting paid anymore.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wanted to help, and he saw your success, and he got fired up.
Exactly.
One of the guys on here on Instagram, this guy Mike Mum, said, "I'm a student of Mark Bell University. I'm comfortable with the current price of tuition."
MBU.
That's awesome, man. That's that's what's going on over here. We are, this is just content that we're kicking out. I just want people to succeed. I want to see people, the amount of millionaires in this country is increasing all the time. And I think it's because of people sharing information. But, on a sadder note, there's also the rate of suicide has increased quite a bit. And the rate of suicide by entrepreneurs is high. It's, nothing comes easy. Nothing's for free, People bitch about taxes, but then they also bitch about like riding their bike in the mud. And it's like, well, you can't bitch about like if we have taxes, then we're going to have sidewalks that you can have a nice curb and you can have a nice sidewalk that you can walk on or you could ride your bike on. If we don't have those taxes, then you're going to be riding around the mud.
Yeah.
You can't complain about like the way that things are. They're that way, and you really can't do anything about it unless you're going to be part of the change, right?
Yeah, and I also very much dislike, when people do talk about taxes or whatever, about like kind of playing the victim, or they have a job that they necessarily don't like, and they're just always hating on their boss, or just something always saying like, oh, they're making all kinds of money, blah blah blah. I'm the one working. It's like, hey man, how about some appreciation? Like just. You don't have to have that job. You don't have to have the means to pay taxes. Could be a lot worse, No,
it could be a lot worse. I mean, especially in this country. I mean, man, being in this country, the men and women that protect this country, it's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, the amount of money we pay in taxes can't ever repay, what they're giving up, right? And what their families are potentially giving up too. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable that we get the opportunity to. Andrew can be like, "Oh man, I'm gonna be a photographer."
Yeah.
Like how weird. Like oh man, I'm gonna go lift weights. Like what the fuck? Like what does that have to do with survival? It has nothing to do with survival.
Yeah.
If a freaking bomb hit this building, like we would probably be worried about something different, right? We probably wouldn't be really so worried. We wouldn't be like, oh man, where are we going to podcast from today?
Yeah. Or what time are we going to start, Mark? Come on, let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's tough. And on that note, just shout out to our boy DJ Webb. He got
DJ Webb.
Yeah, he's still listening. He's still checking in with us in Texas. I don't know exactly what he got promoted to, but I know when he moved out there, he got some type of like higher ranking. I don't really understand all that, but we miss you, buddy.
Hell yeah, we do. Yeah, he always listens to this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, with every, with there's always gonna be a price to pay. When you're going towards these things, and when you're trying to be better than you were yesterday. But you have to just sit there and think for a minute, like, what, there's going to be some sacrifice, there's going to be some things that you give up, but like, what are you doing? What are you currently doing with yourself? If you're sitting there and you're unsure of yourself and you're second guessing yourself, and that's a shitty place to be in. Stop second guessing yourself and start taking that first answer that pops in your head. The second thing that hits you is usually a lie. It's usually not the truth. It's usually something to maybe protect you. Like, don't do that because she's going to think this or he's going to think that. Don't say it that way. Don't go in there and just tell that person how you feel, because then they're gonna overreact. You shouldn't talk that way to somebody. No, maybe you should talk that way to somebody. And maybe after you're done, just to try to protect yourself, you say, that's the first thing that popped in my head. Sorry if you don't like it, but that's what happened. And maybe I'm overreacting. You can blame it on yourself, right? That's always a good way. It doesn't protect everything that you just said or did, but understand. I mean, it's always a good idea to think, if you're going to say something to somebody, it's always a good idea to think it through, right? You have to think it through, and you want to think about their perspective as well. But in general, your gut feeling is a good one. Your gut instinct is a good one. I don't know why this is, but every human being is like born and wired with something brilliant inside of them to be able to trust that gut instinct. It almost always is right. It almost always lead you down the right path. I had this pull from lifting from the time I was a kid, and it was always so strong. And I always valued that. I always thought, like, that's something. I don't know what that is. I don't know what this magnet is that sucks me into lifting all the time, but it's there and it's strong, and I'm not going to deny it. I'm going to let it happen. I'm going to let it, let this thing happen and see what it turns into. See what ends up happening. But your gut instinct is just as good as mine. I don't have some like special barometer. I don't have some special thing that I can check to see. I hear people talk about. I hear people talk about all kinds of different things, and it's all stuff they're never going to pull the trigger on. It's all stuff they're never going to actually do. You hear people talk about, real estate trends and all these different things that go on in our society. And it's like, you know what? Just shut the fuck up and either pull the trigger or don't. Just do something or don't. Like, quit pretending that you can predict the future. You don't know what's going on. Just, for once in your goddamn life, you trust your gut instinct. Trust what's going on inside you. Trust that intuition that you have inside to go after something. You know that there's something that you need to go after, and you need to do it with everything that you got. And if you haven't been, the good news is you still can. You still can. You have another set. You have another rep. You almost always have another rep in you when you're lifting, right? And that's what we love so much about lifting. That's why we're so attracted to it, because it parallels everything in life so much. As C.T. Fletcher says, it's still your motherfucking set. I just saw C.T. Fletcher bench 225.
Shit.
Yeah, he benched 225. And he said next time he's going to do he said his next goal is 315.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. The guy's, died 17 times, right? And he keeps coming back. He's unreal. I mean, but he has that mindset of it's still your set. Yes, it is still your set. Like, he's still alive. He's still here. He still has to keep fighting. And when it's still your set, what do? You try to do everything and anything you can to get another rep. And I would even say there's probably more than just one rep in there. There's probably always at least a couple more reps. But the fact that you're shutting yourself down because of the pain in your legs or the pain in your biceps or the pain in your triceps or wherever it is, you're shutting yourself down. You're stopping yourself from doing that extra rep, for doing that extra set. You're also stopping yourself because you're worried about the pain that you're going to experience tomorrow. You're worried about the pain you're going to feel right after that set, and so you stop yourself. Why do we stop ourselves from doing stuff in our day-to-day life? Because we don't want to get hurt. I don't want to say that to him. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, I'm worried that that's going to cause a chain reaction and this is going to get all messed up. Just pump the brakes and stop doing that. Start to trust your gut instinct. Something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. I know it's sitting there. I know it's dormant because I've had it happen to me. It was sitting there and it was sitting there and it was sitting there, and I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that someone didn't just come along and do it. What if they did? Right?
Yeah, and also, like, stop that extra rep because I'm gonna be sore tomorrow. Like, are you gonna be sore tomorrow, or do you think you're gonna be sore tomorrow? Right? When you tell me about my back, like, does your back hurt, or does it hurt because you think it should hurt right now?
Right.
I think with talking to David Goggins yesterday and doing some research on him, it's kind of amazing, like, what we actually can not trick, but just like will things to happen or think things to happen, put our mind to something, and it actually, like, how black and white it is to actually say, I want this to happen, and then it does happen. But unfortunately, people are just, they have zero confidence in actually truly believing in something.
You got to really focus.
Yeah.
And part of focus is to be able to block. You got to kind of put the blinders put the blinders on. The
Mhm.
problem, though, is that with the blinders is that you could still see straight ahead. And you can still see your own reflection, and yourself is going to be the biggest distraction, And so how do you overcome that barrier? How do you overcome that person? That's the person that's been telling you can't do it really, because like maybe your mom or your dad or you had some unfortunate upbringing and maybe somebody was telling you, but ultimately you bought into it. It's still you. It's still on you, right? And ultimately you have to overcome it because it's not your mom living your life. It's not your dad living your life. It's not anybody else living your life. It's you living your life. And you're going to have to figure out a way, how do I take charge of this? And how do I stop? And the way you stop, as I mentioned earlier, write these things down. When you have good ideas, write them down. Keep track of them. If you have had bad experiences in your life, what is holding you back? Is it bad relationships? Is it alcohol? Is it drugs? Is it your, is it your own just shortcomings with being on time or communicating with people better? But whatever these things are, you know what they are. And David Goggins pointed that out to us yesterday too. He's like, man, there's a whole list of things you're scared of that like what you're scared of. And he said he had a huge list back in the day, but you're going to have to figure out a way to hone in, to focus in on, okay, what are the things I did in the past that didn't work? Because whatever you're doing is not working. And if I was to sit down with somebody that said, hey man, what I want to do is, within the next couple of years, I'm finishing up college, and when I get out of college, I want to be a personal trainer and maybe open up my own gym, and I want to do some of these things. And I'd say, okay, where's your notebook? You have a notebook with you? Do you have have you ever written down some of your goals? So that's where I would start. And they would probably say, no, not really. Okay, well, let's get some goals down. Let's try to figure some of this out. Okay. You said that you want to maybe open up your own gym someday. Let's get rid of the word maybe, and let's say that you're going to open up your own gym someday. And then put a date on it. Start to figure out, what does that look like? Is that reasonable? Can you actually do that? Do you have any money? Do you have any savings? Do you have friends that have money? How is this place going to come to be? Because it can be willed to happen, but it's going to be kind of rare. That's going to be the person that holds on no matter what. Like for me, I held on no matter what because I didn't think I had anywhere else to go. And so when it came to opening up Super Training Gym and talking to my dad about it and stuff, I think my dad was like, what are you doing? I don't get it. You want to open up a powerlifting gym, but you maybe sort of don't really want people to come there because you want to kind of sort of have your own thing going. And it's hardcore and not that many people are going to powerlift. And he's like, I don't get it. And he never really did understand it. I still don't think he understands it. I still don't think he gets it 100%. But I know that he was very fearful. He was like, "What?" He's like, "I don't understand. What are you doing? You're going to get up, buy all this equipment, and do all these different things." And I was fortunate enough to have my parents help me. I was fortunate enough to have some members of the gym help with finances and stuff like that. Obviously, having my parents help, that's very, very fortunate. But having gym members help, I don't view that as luck. I view that as me being forward and me saying, "Hey, here's what I want to do. I have a plan. This is my plan." Now, I didn't open up a notebook because I didn't know some of these things back then, and I wish I did. Imagine if I had notes from then, how valuable they would be, not only to me, but I could probably, publish a damn book on a lot of this stuff, right? It would have been so valuable to kind of look at that, but I had a vision enough to where I can explain it to people on what it was I was trying to do. And a lot of the people that have come back around, a lot of the people that I talk to today that have been around from the beginning, whoa, dude, that's, man, that's some really wild shit. And I guarantee you, a lot of those people thought the way my dad did, very, very realistic and very honest look at it. I don't know if my dad's a numbers guy. My dad's like, how is this going to work? What do you mean So you're going to have 20 members. They're going to pay about $100 a month because the gym wasn't free in the beginning because it couldn't have been. you're going to have about 20 members, pay about $100 a month. So even if your rent's $1,000 and you're going to make $1,000 a month, and okay, you're going to make $12K a year, and you're really not clearing $12K because there's utilities and there's other things to pay at this facility. And then the gym's not even really big enough to really grow or expand. You can only have the amount of members that you have because the place is only 900 square feet. So it just doesn't sound like it's anything that's going to really turn into anything.
Yeah, Tim brings up a good point. He's like, most people don't understand good ideas. And my response was like, yeah, people thought the iPhone was a bad idea.
Right. Yeah.
That thing barely worked out, right?
Barely worked out. A lot of people don't understand good ideas, but it's your job to make them see it. It's your job to show them. And one of the examples I did and with my dad, it's I'm his son, so it doesn't really matter. I didn't really have to prove a concept to him. He was just going to be supportive of it anyway. Even if it failed, he probably would have been supportive of it no matter what. That's what you do when you're a father. That's just the way that relationship works. But no other relationship in the world works that way. And so you're going to have to prove to people that you have something that works, and so therefore you're going to have to be able to give them a vision of what it is that you're going to do. They say, without vision, people will perish. That's in the Bible. They say, without a vision, the people will perish. It's because without a goal, without a dream, you're going to die. You might as well be dead if you don't have something to really live for. Because a dream gives you purpose. And without purpose, why the hell are we here? What are we here for? And so you can't tell me that you're trying to do something and that you're not going to start to write some of these things down, because writing them down will just give you a much more clear path. And you might be like, I'm not someone that writes stuff down. You guys got to see this notebook. This thing is a mess. It's got smiley faces and shit all over it. I mean, I can barely spell. There's stuff all over the place. Write it down whatever way you have to. If you have to use symbols or whatever, just whatever you got to get down.
Emojis.
Yeah, you got to draw a pig and a cat and a whatever. Like, just do whatever way you got to get your stuff out there.
Let's be honest. Yours just has a bunch of eggplants drawn all over it.
Lots of eggplants.
How did you know, or how should people know when to actually like full on take the risk of leaping into something?
Yeah, you'll know a good idea when you have one. You'll know something's right when it's there, because you'll be obsessed about it. You won't be able to stop thinking about it. I mean, that's the number one way, in my opinion, is like something will be usually like when something is kind of close like that, or when something's in the air like that, and you keep getting pulled towards it and you can't stop thinking about it. It's because it's already close. Like it's already something that's starting to get like realized. Like let's say that you're going to switch jobs from being an accountant to like being a GM at a restaurant or something. You're excited about it. Well, once you start to kind of think about, man, I really love the restaurant business and I'd love to do that someday. And then you start to think about it a little bit more, like, man, I like that place down the street. I'm going to go check in with them, and I'm going to talk to the owner one day. And then you go and talk to the owner and say, I would love to, help at this place, right? And you start to kind of think about it more and more. You're like, damn it, why didn't I tell the guy that I got 10 years experience being an accountant and I'm a real numbers guy and I can help this restaurant out a lot? Then you start to think about it. And then you're stuck. And then you can't stop thinking about it. And that's when you're going to know something is a good idea. It's almost like being in love. Like when you're in love, like that's all you just think about that person like all day long. You're just like totally under a spell. It's like that's all you can think about for 24 hours pretty much, right? I mean, you can't think of much else.
Yeah, I always just tell people like whatever it is that keeps coming back to you, like that's probably the thing that you should be doing.
Yeah.
I unfortunately had to tell that to our boy Kevin. He was kind of a little unsure about, still photographing fitness stuff and whatnot, because all he wants to do is take pictures of cars. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, man, if that's where your passion keeps coming back to, like, don't kill yourself by just trying to take pictures of a bunch of fat dudes powerlifting. And unfortunately, yeah, he's gonna. I think next Tuesday is his last day shooting for us.
That's cool. Yeah, he told me about that. I thought
Yeah.
that was good. That was a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I said too. And he was a little unsure because he's a young guy, a little timid. And I'm like, no, man. I'm like, you got better from the time you started here, from now, from then till now, and that's all I ever wanted for you.
Yeah, he was great too. He came up to me and he was just very professional, and he was like, "Hey, man, I really appreciate the opportunity." And he just said, "Yeah, like everybody here has helped me. I've gotten better from being here, and that's what you want. That's what it's all about." But even that, as like, that's a great example. Like, don't be afraid to try some different things to get yourself into a different position. By him working here, it set him up for something else, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the way these kinds of things work. I'm popping back on live here again on Instagram because it shuts me down for talking too long. That's just the way some of this shit works. Somebody asked me on Instagram about or somebody said they started wearing collared shirts because I wear collared shirts on here. That actually is a thing for me. Like I have like a uniform, so I go from like lifting, wearing, whatever I wear for lifting, and I come in here. Sometimes I'll actually lift in this stuff. Sometimes I'll actually lift in some of these, some of this clothes and stuff. But it's just to change modes. It's just a switch, It's to kind of flip a switch. I like to. I don't really like get dressed up necessarily, but I like to look nice. I like to feel good, and so this is all part of it. And I feel like I have a powerful message to deliver, and I don't feel like delivering it in a T-shirt. I feel like that it deserves to be dressed up a little bit, and so therefore I take a moment to change my shirt, and it doesn't require anything more of me, and that's what I'm always kind of looking for. I'm always in search of, like, what can I do that's not unreasonable for me to do, that can really add to what it is I'm doing. And that should be something everybody should ask themselves every single day of your life. What can I do to be better than I was yesterday that's reasonable? And that doesn't mean that you all of a sudden out of nowhere start waking up at 4 a.m. It doesn't mean that you all of a sudden never have another drink again. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden out of nowhere you never eat another bad meal again, right? Like, these things are going to take time. Just start to add some things in. What are things that are unreasonable for you to do?
Yeah, I had a pretty interesting thought the other day. We were watching I can't remember the name of the Netflix documentary. It was about food. It was like kind of like a ketogenic movie. But I was just sitting there, and after we got done watching, I told Stephanie, I'm like, I've always had this thought in the back of my head, like, yeah, I'm going to eat clean for the next X amount of months, or like maybe sometime next year I'm going to have a slice of pizza or something. But I'm like, why do I still have that thought? Like, if I completely just said, well, I'm not having pizza anymore, like, it almost kind of lifts the pressure of holding off.
Right.
And I'm not saying like it's a good idea to be crazy like that and say you're never going to eat bad again. But I was just curious, like, why do I still have that thought just deep in the back of my head telling me that, yeah, dude, you're going to break down and have pizza eventually? Like, it's just, I don't know, it just kind of hit me, and I'm like, I could just say that I'm not going to eat it and I'll be fine. And then I went a whole day of listening to Smokey about how he wanted to eat pizza, and it kind of like, it made me want pizza again. But I mean, I didn't eat pizza, but it's just weird. It just hit me, and I'm like, why can't I just say that I'm not going to have it and be done with it? It is really good, though.
It is really good. Well, the weird thing is, it's not like you don't know what pizza tastes like.
Right.
You already know what it tastes like, so why? Like, what is it in the brain that makes you want to have it again?
Yeah,
It tastes kind of the same every time you have it. I mean, there's different levels, right? There's like different kinds of pizza.
Yeah, why can't it be like visiting a certain location that's like, oh, I went to Paris or whatever? It's like, yeah, okay, it was awesome, but I'm not dying to go back.
Yeah, yeah, or seeing a movie.
Right, yeah.
Like, a lot of movies, see it once, and there's a bunch of movies that, like, yeah, you would love to watch them again, but you could live the rest of your life without ever seeing it again and be totally fine.
Yeah.
Pizza ain't like that.
What did you think of Creed 2? No spoilers, though. I haven't seen it.
I liked it.
I want to see it really bad.
I liked it. You'll like it. You like Creed 2.
I'm pretty stoked. I want to see it.
I think, a shout out to Nick Platinum and shout out to Corey Gregory. Corey Gregory said, I wake up at 3 a.m.
Corey G, what's up?
We know you wake up at 3 a.m., sucker. Nick Platinum's my boy. What's up, Nick Platinum? But yeah, I think that the attraction back to some of the things that you love to eat, I think it's hard to resist, and I think there's just so many things built into that. It's social, right? Like you're probably not going to go out and like kill a pizza by yourself, although you could. But you're probably going to do it with like family. You're probably going to enjoy the moment with a friend or something like that. And so there's just so much that's built into that. It's so much more than just being fat, right? It's so much more than just like enjoying some grub. It's kind of a different thing. But what we're always talking about here on this podcast is how to get your mindset, headed in the right direction. How to get your mindset to stay in the right direction. But we're also not overly concerned about veering off. Because veering off is going to happen. You are going to eat that pizza. You are going to miss that cardio session. You are going to miss a couple days of working out. It is easier to sleep in. It is easier to be grumpy. It's easier to be pissed off. It's easy to sit around and feel sorry for yourself. These things are very easy to do. And because they're so easy to do, there's such a low level of resistance to do them, we will always resort back to doing them again. For myself, I don't mind allowing myself a little bit of a leash here and there. I don't mind allowing myself to sleep in here and there, but sleeping in for me, my whole goal from many years ago was to try to set my life up in a position where on my worst day, I'm still doing better than you. I'm still doing better than the next guy, better than the average guy. Maybe not better than everybody else, but better than most. That's my goal. And I really have broken it down to even be simpler than just that, because even that could build up some pressure, right? I just want to have more good days than I do bad. So therefore, I work out more days than I don't. 7 days in a week. So have 4 good days out of 7. Like, I think these are all like reasonable things to ask, and I feel like every day is good. Like I'm pretty damn happy. But I'm just saying, for somebody who maybe doesn't like their job, or maybe they don't just love the position that they're in right now in their life, you should still be striving for that. Have more good days than you do bad. That's a really simple concept to try to wrap your brain around. Mm-hmm. Do more, be more, wake up fired up in the morning at 3 a.m. and be like Corey G. That's a harder principle, when you're fighting from behind.
Yeah, I want to be like Corey G. He's got some nice abs.
He does. I think he fluffed up though a little bit.
So he plumped up, and then just to show off that how shredded he can get, he just dropped right back down in like a couple weeks.
Got all shredded
Dude's
up again.
An animal. A fan from India asked, "What gets you fired up in the morning exactly?"
Well, what I always try to tell people is, if you were going to meet the people I was going to meet, and if you were going to end up in the places that I'm going to end up, then you would wake up with a blowtorch up your asshole too.
I know it's kind of hard to relate, because I know like in my regular 8 to 5 job, like it would suck to here we go again. But once I started working towards my photography, career, then I woke up a little bit different. And then just like today, I wake up extremely different than I used to before. Now, I wish I woke up a little bit sooner. Like, that's one thing I need to work on, is getting to bed earlier and staying asleep, so that way I can wake up much earlier to, kind of get fired up for the day.
Yeah, I like to try to, wake up early enough so that when I'm here, I'm up, and so it can be frustrating for the people that work with me that try to get me here on time. But like, I'm not coming in. I'm never gonna come here unprepared. I might be late, but I'm never gonna come here unprepared. As soon as I walk through the door, almost every single time without fail, I'm either ready to film something, or I'm ready to tack the weights right away. I don't need to warm up. I don't need to do anything. I'm ready 100%. And so, for me, it's like I got to get fucking psyched up. Like, I have to want to be here. And so sometimes that takes time. Mm-hmm. Like, I might take extra time in the shower. I might be like, oh, man, all right, well, I'm going to get in a hot tub. I'm like, not feeling it, I'm going to eat. Like I might just chill, and
Yeah.
I try not to really overly worry about it too much while also trying to be respectful of everybody else's time. I don't want to be a dick.
Yeah. Tim asks if you have like a set daily routine.
It's good to have a set daily routine. It's good to try to get into a rhythm because uh, well, I would say that you should have, like for me, I try to at least have a general rhythm to it. And I think for everybody else, I think that's important too. I don't think it works out very well. We were doing it for a while where we work out mornings and late and mornings and that sucks. That's too hard. It's too hard to get in a good rhythm of having really good workouts. And we had a couple workouts that I didn't feel were great, and so we changed it. We're like, nope, working out, like that's gonna be the first thing. And so like even on like Thursday morning when we have a meeting, we always just work out beforehand because that's a primary thing to get done each day is to make sure that we get that done because it's important to us. It's not always more important than the things that go on at work, but we already know that the work is going to get done. Like the work stuff is going to happen. It's going to happen. But if we don't work out early in the day, then maybe we don't get a good workout in.
Mm.
We know work-wise that we're going to be fine. We know that we're going to get in good work. We know that we're going to get in a good podcast. You're going to take great photos. It doesn't matter how tired you are. But if you're tired and exhausted, we can't have a good workout. Or if you're not feeling right, like because we had a long work day and then we try to lift afterwards. So each person's going to be a little different on that. But I would say, try to develop a schedule and try to stick to it.
Yeah. And I'd say like how many oh shit moments happen after work? Meaning, I mean, well, with the exception of like, oh shit, there's a lot of traffic. But like in the morning when everyone's still asleep, no one's going to hit like, oh shit, my daughter's sick. I gotta go pick her up at school.
Right.
Or like, oh shit, there's a flat tire. Like I have to go fix Stephanie's car. Like whatever it is, it's not gonna happen at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It's quiet. Everyone's asleep
Yeah.
or everyone's busy getting. Well, if they're really close to you, they should be working out with you also. But
Right.
Nothing's gonna happen before work really that you can't like do later on in the day. After work, however, that's when the emergencies happen. That's when
Yeah.
you got to drop everything because something happened, or you just never know. Something's going to pop up that will mess up your workout. It's really frustrating.
This guy, Johnny B, the barber. He's I need better discipline, and he said he needs to he has a hard time waking up early. Well, if you have a hard time waking up early, there's a couple things that need to happen. Number one is you need to get to bed earlier, but getting to bed earlier won't help at first. That's going to take time. Make yourself wake up like ridiculously early for a while, and you'll get totally used to that. And then when it's time for you to be tired, it's time for you to go to bed. You're going to go to bed and you're going to be very tired. So it sounds kind of weird, but that's a good way of doing it. Like, in order to wake up early, wake up early. Wake up really early. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's a hard thing to get, but like let's say that you normally wake up, like I think everyone has a few times during the night they normally wake up. There might be a time where you just stay up. Like if I wake up every couple hours, it seems like, to use the bathroom. But if you wake up at like 5 or something and use the bathroom, stay up.
Mm-hmm.
Just fucking stay up. Just stay awake, and your body will get used to that. And then you're going to want to go to sleep earlier. And a lot of times you need to go to bed a lot earlier than you think. So they'll be like, like I'm tired, but it's only 7. And they stay up. But then what happens is like 10 o'clock rolls around and they get like a second wind kind of. And now you're screwed. And then you look up at the clock and it's freaking 12.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh my God, I'm so screwed right now because I had to wake up early.
Yeah, and if you say you want to go to bed at 8:30, stop messing with your phone like around 7 o'clock. Like, get that phone away from you. Your eyes and your brain are tricked thinking that that's actually the sun coming up.
Right.
It's weird. Because it kind of happened last night where it was, I think it was only like 8 o'clock or not even, 8 or 9 o'clock, I don't remember. But we're like, okay, it's time to go to bed. Tell Jasmine it's bedtime. She's like, no, you said it was going to be 8:30. It's like, well, it's almost 8:30. Like, no, it's not. And then by the time we're done like talking, it's like already 9:30. I was like, dude, see what happens? Like, go to bed now. Because you blink and it's like time passes. be a little bit more strict on yourself. I know I need to.
This guy is saying that he works. Sounds like he said he works. What do you say? He works. I work shift work days to nights. Not sure what that means.
Probably some days he works early, some days he works nights.
Yeah, but you still have to figure out like. I've been saying this for a long time on this podcast now. Like you kind of know your schedule. On days that it doesn't work out for you to work out that well, then don't work out. So, like your shift work, you're not working day and night all the time. Whatever day you can work out better, that's your day that you work out. You know, I personally feel, and there's some scientific evidence of this as well, that exercise is best done in the morning. And there's some evidence that lifting heavy isn't necessarily great, you know, first thing when you roll out of bed. However, for your brain and for your mental capacity and for everything else and for the growth of your brain, the growth of you as a human being, I think trying to exercise pretty much first thing in the morning is of huge value. So whatever way you can make that work in accordance to your schedule, maybe that happens 3 times a week and once on the weekend or whatever. But I'm sure that you can make it work. I think the first thing that we always do when somebody has something that solves a problem for us, we always throw up right away. We throw up a defense mechanism and be like, well, here's why I can't do that. And it's like bullshit. You can do that. You can make that change. It's just that you're not prioritizing to make that change. I was just talking the other day about stretching. I was like, you know, I don't ever stretch, and I'm not going to make any excuses about it. I just don't. I don't do it. I don't stretch, and there's no reason for me not to stretch. I just don't. I don't do it, and I'm not. And as a result, it's a failed. You know, it's a hole in my game. My lack of mobility is a failure, and it limits my strength. It doesn't. If it caused me like real problems, then I guess I would. I mean, I would say that I would imagine that I would do something about it. But it doesn't hurt me. But it certainly doesn't help me. And like trying to put my shoes on and shit like that in the morning sucks. And it's just an area in my life that I can improve upon. Obviously, I got other areas I can improve upon as well. That's just, you know, one of them on probably a pretty long list of things I could improve upon. But, you know, it's an interesting thing, right? Like, why aren't you doing something that you should be doing when you know that you could be doing it, could be making you better? But also, keep this in mind, I don't stand around and say, like, I want to be more flexible. You know, I don't say, like, oh, I want to be able to do a split. I'm not talking about that. But meanwhile, you got people that are talking about being in better shape, being stronger, and they're not doing any of the shit that they're supposed to be doing towards reaching that goal. Somebody mentioned that they train 7 days a week and that they just take a day off when they don't feel like training, when their body tells them not to. That's an excellent way of doing it.
Yeah, I remember you used to say, just say that you're going to work every single day, because you probably won't actually be able to. But if you plan on training every day, then you'll probably train more times than you will not.
Yeah, and you might, you know, something's going to come up, or or you're just going to be like, you know what, man, I trained everything like 5 times this week. I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I was saying today. I'm like, dude, how many times have we done some type of bench this week? And I think we were like up to 3. But
this guy, Derek Smiley, 77, he said, people, they are on roids, which is an enhancement drug. You can't enhance your life on their level without them. By the way, I'm for roids, but you have to let people know the truth. What people do I have to let know the truth? If you are claiming to have this information already, then who should I be telling this to? Asshole.
How dare he claim that I'm on something?
I know. People are worthless. Who gives a fuck what people do?
Yeah.
You know, just because somebody snorts cocaine doesn't mean I can't listen to them about how they're successful. Mm-hmm. Obviously, cocaine is something that's going to really give you a good boost, right? It's
Right.
going to be something that makes you more alert. But that doesn't mean there's not a lot of valuable things to learn from somebody that's kicked a lot of ass that way, right?
Yeah, just look at the scoreboard.
That's right. People are weird. Anyway, I think that concludes. You got anything else?
That's all I got. Oh, actually, no. Your mom had chimed in.
Hey, Mom.
It was when you were talking about your dad. I guess she told Chris Bell, your brother, that you want to go to film school and make movies. That doesn't sound like it can make any money doing that. Why don't you get a job in town? Like, oh,
Yep. It's there's that's what you're going to hear. Those are those are going to be the things that you face when you're when you have hopes, when you have dreams, when you're trying to do something. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's important to kind of chronicle these things. Now that's a relationship again, with a father-son, and that's going to be different than anything else that you face. But a point that I brought up in a seminar that I did was the creation of the wagon wheels that Rogue Fitness makes that have the ST logo on them. I had to actually physically get those made. I had to show Rogue Fitness, hey, check this out. And the way that I did it was I got those made by my father-in-law at his machine shop, and then I put it side by side with a Rogue Fitness plate. Now this plate is like way, way bigger than the Rogue Fitness plate. And so when I put the two next to each other, Rogue Fitness makes oversized, really big, really powerful equipment. When I put these two side by side and I said, this is what I'm talking about, then they went, oh. They're like, that's what you want to get made. They're like, maybe we should make that. And I was like, that's what I've been saying. And so as soon as they saw like kind of how puny their product looked next to the plate that I made, then they were all of a sudden enticed by it. But it's going to be your job in your life. You're going to have to show people, like, what are you talking about? What is? I had to do that with the Slingshot. The Slingshot is a product that by the United States Custom didn't even have a category. We had to give it its own category. They didn't know how to categorize it. They didn't know what to call it because it wasn't a piece of like lifting equipment. It wasn't like a weight training belt or anything like that. It was kind of in its own class. It was in its own. It was its own thing. But if I never kept that thought, if I never wrote that thought down, if I never explained it to somebody, if I never communicated it enough. What if I just wasn't smart enough to communicate it properly with the person that actually created it? Because I didn't sew it together. What if I just I had to write that down. I had to draw it. I drew it. I drew it on a piece of paper. I was like, oh, this is what I think I want made. And she was like, well, you can't really sew it that way. She's like, well, what about more like this? And I was like, no, I don't think that's going to work. I was like, well, what about more? And we worked it out. And we started to kind of come up with this concept. And it started to look like what you see today in the Slingshot. But it all started with writing that stuff down. You got to get it down. You got to get it down on paper. You got to be able to communicate it. If you're not able to show it in some way, then why would anybody else want to buy into it? Why would anybody else want to be a part of it? Why would anybody else care? They're not even going to care. So you're going to have to show them, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm trying to do. And that's it. All right, that's all the time we got. This is Mark Bell's Power Project. Thank you guys so much for listening. The price of admission to this show is just to share with other people. If you like this episode, please tell other people about it. If you like this episode, leave us a comment on iTunes. And strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.